Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome wherever you are listening or watching in the world to Ikigai with Jennifer Shinkai. I am your host, Jennifer Shinkai. And with me today is a fascinating, amazing, inspiring guest, Noemi Inoue. She's already laughing. So Noemi is a 3 times elected councillor in Sumida Ward in Tokyo. She's the first non-Japanese born woman to hold this type of role in Japan in local politics. But she's originally from Bolivia, worked at, let me just get this right, the Banco Central de Bolivia, and then at the UN. And then 18 years ago, made the move from New York to Tokyo. And so today we're going to talk about Ikigai as it relates to running for office, being an elected official, the voice of the people. And I think it's going to be a fascinating journey.
But listen to you.
Can you hear me? Maybe we have some.
Yeah, now yes.
Now it's good. Yes, we had.
Interfering. Yeah.
Good. We had a little bit of an earthquake this morning in Tokyo. Very small, but sometimes I find that it makes my internet bad for the rest of the day. So I did restart the router, but hopefully it will be okay for this recording. But I remember when I first met you, Noemi, as I remember it, we were on a panel at the in Yogoku for the 5,000 people singing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and I was representing the UK. And yeah, it was. I think it must have been 2009 or 2010 because my daughter was still a baby. I remember going to the rehearsals, and she was in the nani dakohimo, in the baby carrier, and I would sing. Yeah, and that was the first time we met. And were you a councillor at that time?
At that time, not.
No.
After 2 years. That was in 2009. And I became councillor in 2011.
Right.
This time will be 10 years ago.
10 years.
This year, yeah.
Wow. So I would love
Very fast.
Very fast. Yes. I would love to hear, Noemi, about your call to public office, about how this little girl from Bolivia ended up as a Sumida councilwoman. So please tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, as you know, I born in Bolivia. In Bolivia, I always want to be in some position to serve people. Actually, since I was 17, I was going to some institution of special need kids to help them in some issues on their lives. And I study economics, thinking to have some model for Bolivia, and it could help to reduce the gap between poor people and rich people, but it's too complicated. So finally, I become economist, but I couldn't have reached my goal to be a finance ministry in Bolivia. Eventually, I started working in the Bolivian Central Bank, and after that, I went to New York and work in UN with the same because in Bolivia also I was working in UN, and it was like transfer work to New York. So I think it was very, very interesting place to work, New York, because I could cover more countries. My projects were at regional level, and I met my husband. So I end up in Japan because of him. But it was frustrating in Japan. I couldn't really work as an economist, but in other aspect, I could raise my children until she was 15, and it was very nice time to be with her, to teach her, and to have time with her. Even though uh, sometime I consider I was not doing anything, but in fact I was doing a lot of volunteer job. I was involved in international community, and also I have a chance to promote the World Cup tournament and second world seminar or congress uh, of exploitation on children of UNICEF. So
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
I did many things. Even I didn't have an official job. So once my daughter became a independent teenager,
Maybe, yeah, you're like, don't be
I,
independent. But yeah, there
yeah,
she is.
and definitely I have more time, and I try to find a job, and that 10 years of gap not having official work also was difficult. I tried to find a job again in UN, and they offer me countries like Senegal or Afghanistan, places that I cannot take my family.
Mm.
So I start my MPO, and our main goal were make business between Japan and Latin America, uh, exchange culture, language, and promote uh, uh, Latin American countries. And then my husband say, "Why you don't become a Japanese? Maybe you can work in UN here in Japan." Because really, there is very few Japanese working in UN, and
Right.
UN is the first donor for international organizations and developing countries, the government and the private sector. So I say, okay, I become Japanese, and
Right.
after the next year was election, and my husband, because he was a MP, member of the parliament, and he still have contacts with politicians, and of course, both we were interested in politics in some point. And he said, "Why you don't become a councillor in Sumida?" I say, "What? No way." Anyway, I try. I try
But
and I make it. And
yes.
here I am.
Yeah, 3 times. So I just want to like backtrack a bit. So first of all, to acknowledge Mr. Inoue's great influence in giving you some ideas and suggestions.
Yes.
But you know, my husband says all kinds of things to me, and I don't always, take him up on these great offers and great ideas. And I just want to take the step back to this first thing about, in order to be of service, which you said is kind of one of your ikigais, it's your drive in life is to serve. Um, that required quite a big sacrifice, because as you know, as a daughter of well, your daughter is well, actually, your daughter is Japanese, right? Because you're both Japanese nationals. But
Yeah.
Japan doesn't allow dual nationality, and definitely
No.
for elected representatives need to be Japanese citizens, Japanese passport holders, and so on. But so this your husband's first suggestion, you said, why don't you become Japanese? Sure, like it's not that easy. For me anyway, it's not that easy. The thought process plus the administrative process. So I'm more interested in finding out about like your thought process. Was it that easy for you to just say, yeah, okay, actually this feels right, I'm going to do it? Or did you have some sleepless nights?
No, it was shocking actually. Thinking
But
that I will lose my Bolivian nationality, because do you know your nationality is all that you possess, is your history, is your country, your memories, your
yeah,
parents. So it
like
was
your
kind of
roots and your
traumatic.
ancestors, all of these things, right?
Yeah, everything. But do you know the initial idea was really no way. I cannot do that. But we find out how is the process and what we win, what we lost. So we balance the positive and negative things.
Mm,
First of all, I love Japan. I really love Japan.
yeah.
Really love the culture. I really love the people. And probably I will be all my life from now on. I don't know really. As international couple, we don't know,
Yeah.
but my family is Japanese. I choose to come to Japan, and probably I will be all my life in Japan. So we balance what I could lose, what I can win. And and at the end, I also find out, like in Bolivia, if you are Bolivian, you never lose your nationality under any circumstances.
Mm,
So even I quit my nationality in Japan, if I decide to go back to Bolivia, I can get again my nationality.
right. So they'll take
Uh,
you back.
yeah. So now I'm Japanese. I'm living in Japan, and it's much easier to do many things. For
Mm,
example, to travel. I can travel anywhere without a visa, but if I
right.
travel with Bolivian visa, it's too complicated.
Right. It's a very powerful passport in the world, the Japanese
Yeah,
passport, right? Maybe one of the most powerful,
probably.
like visa-free
So
travel.
this is
Mm,
one great advantage, and the other advantage is living in Japan. If you are Japanese, you have same rights and same obligations,
mm,
and that is, and really, I can tell you, it makes huge difference.
right.
So I could recommend to foreigners that if they really want to be part of this society, integrate in this society, become a national could be very, very important in a step in there that it makes huge difference. For example, even I have a foreign face, and I'm not queen in Japanese, but I was able to become elected,
Yeah.
and I didn't have any problem. I have same rights and same obligations, and that is very important.
Yeah. So about the rights and the obligations that you have as a citizen. And again, you know, many people have some ideas, or maybe I should do this. This sounds quite interesting. Tell me about your journey from maybe I should run for office to now I'm campaigning and I'm running for office. What was the trigger between the idea and the action?
Well, initially, uh, I saw really the foreign people in general has good life, but for example, foreign professional women doesn't have the opportunity to have a job, for example.
Mm,
There is no possibility in this system because most of the professionals, even Japanese or women and men, has to find a job when they finish the university. So if foreign women come to Japan and want to find a job after some time of stopping in their countries or whatever, probably it's kind of impossible for women to find a job in Japan. Foreign women is worse. Women in general, right? But foreign women is worst. So that was very, very, I was very concerned about that. And I find out that is the system, right? Even though you have a lot of experience, even though you can really uh, apport many things to the companies, there is no possibility because of the work, the system work. And also, I saw that in some areas in Tokyo, there is very international areas in Tokyo that the foreigners has no problem at all. But in certain areas, the communication between Japanese and foreigners are not smooth. Japanese people need time to to trust, and not only in foreigners, also in other Japanese they don't know. It's kind of they need that period of acknowledge. They want to be sure they won't have a problem with that person. And of course, if you don't belong to some group, it's difficult to be integrated or to have a relation with the community, right? So it's, in general, you have to belong to some group, Japanese group. So if you have also kids and you don't have communication with Japanese mothers, it's also a problem, right? But my worst concern, my best concern was in a natural disaster time. If you don't have friends around your area and something happened, nobody will know about you. Nobody will help you. Nobody will even realize what happened with you. No, and I
Yeah,
was
exactly.
in 2011, for example, I was thinking how many people really they don't know their neighbors. How many foreigners don't know their neighbors,
Yep.
and if they have some problem, nobody really will realize what is
Mm.
going on. And for example, during the natural disasters is not part of my job, of course, but I really go to the elderly citizens that they live alone
Yeah.
to find out how are they doing, if they are okay, and blah blah. Do you know? Is I'm concerned about them because many people in Sumida live alone. But
Mm.
anyway, there is a lot of necessities, and also my daughter was in the initially in Japanese nursery, but I find out that the I am not I was not English speaker, and my Japanese was not so good. So it was better to put her in international school because in the place that we used to live, children were very very close,
Mm.
and feel that my daughter was kind of scary to talk Spanish. So when I went to the school, I talked to them in Spanish. I say hello or in Spanish, no, hola, cómo están, and blah blah. So it also gives to my daughter confidence that if I feel confidence and they learn some small Spanish, she also feel confident with the children. It was really small when she was very small, right?
Mm.
So I thought also probably uh, cities need more internationalization because by that time it was not really too many foreigners living in Sumida or in other places, and it could be really uh, make cities more international, and also during the that time during the of that time I knew Japanese people learn a lot of English in the school, but they cannot communicate in English, even though they have
Mm.
maybe each one knows uh, like 2,000 words in
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to communicate. So those kind of things make me think, oh, I can really help to change
Right.
this society. I don't want to change Japan because I really think it's lovely country. It has a lot of positive things, but there is things that they need to be improved, right?
Mm.
So I decide to think. First of all, I think, okay, how I will do. Oh my God. Okay, I will try. Because I don't look really Japanese. My hair is actually curly, and I have to straight to look less foreigner.
Oh, really? So you do
Yeah,
you do that that covering, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I straight, and anyway, I was very natural, and I don't. I really try to outreach people
Mm.
first,
Yeah.
and also helped that my husband was MP in this area.
Right.
So I knew many people as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it helps. But
Yes.
my motivation was to help foreigners, to improve the education, and to help people who really needs. For example, I really have a lot of friends, and I don't know if they are my supporters because I never asked them. But friends that they are elderly and they live alone, and
Mm.
they uh, need somebody to talk, like, how are you? Or for example, in this during this time of corona, some of them really don't want to go to buy because they have some other condition.
Yeah, so
So
want to
if I
protect
go and
themselves.
say, can I help you? See, yes, please go. Could you go to buy this for me? Okay, I go and buy and come back. Those kind of things, they
Yeah.
appreciate, and that is part of my service. Of course,
Yeah.
that is not part of my job as counselor,
Right.
but
But maybe
I'm happy
part of your
to
ikigai,
be
it's
useful
what,
for them.
yeah, to be useful for people.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
love what you said, Naomi,
yeah, and
about
many.
oh, carry on.
Mm, those,
Oh,
please.
so I love what you said about this idea. First of all, I feel you are a voice for people who don't have a voice in politics. So for many foreigners who haven't
Um,
nationalized, right? Like I can't have my voice heard very easily, I feel, in my local ward office, and maybe many other non-Japanese in Japan feel the same. So you're kind of supporting them, you're supporting women's empowerment. And I think what's brilliant as well with how you talk about Sumida, because I follow you on social media, and I love I love Sumida hashtag Sumida Daisuki. And I think that
oh
Sumida
yeah.
Sumida has so many opportunities. In your background, on your Zoom background, we can see the wonderful sky tree and like the connections between Asakusa. And I
Oh yeah.
remember, yeah, and you with your like that park, Sumida Koen changed so much,
She's
changed
got
so
to.
much. And I know that you were very
Yeah.
angry about the trees being cut down. But now I feel Sumida Koen became the really family place. And it's
Yeah.
kind of new Sumida. And I feel that
Yeah.
a lot of what I sense you are bringing to the local politics is like, in other countries, people do this kind of thing. And in other places, they do this kind of thing because of your multilingualism, you can access lots of different information that maybe a more domestic
Yeah.
counselor can't can't access. So I think it's such a so important if because Sumidaku is like an old ward, as you said, many old people, not so many young families, but we need something. So I'm very grateful for what you do to bring that
Oh, thank you.
energy.
Yeah. Talking about Sumida, I was when it was looks like a jungle. I was walking with my dog, but it's really historical place in Sumida, right? And it was. Do you know, maintaining the parks is very expensive,
Mm,
but finally they decided to do the reform. I was not so happy with the concept because they just cut the traditional part of the park
Yeah.
and put some kind of
Concrete.
concrete, and there is no design,
Mm.
but we can use the places in the close to the lake. We can use the green area, and let's see if we can improve little
Yeah.
bit more. For example, having tables with chairs and something to cover the sun, because in summertime that will be very hot.
Yeah.
Who will
Yeah.
use that concrete area? Only the cars. But anyway, is very useful, and
Yeah.
people are loving it, and probably we can make it better, that
Exactly.
part, for
Yeah.
people to use.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the challenges that you face when you're, pursuing your Ikigai, because I can imagine that service in local government is not easy every day. Maybe some stress,
No,
maybe some difficult, no stress, or it's
a lot of stress.
so
A lot of stress.
how do you keep going, Noemi? Like what are the things that make you go, okay, don't quit, hang in there? Like what are your habits or your messages you give to yourself?
Do you know, doing politics in Japan is difficult in some way, but in other way, for example, in my case, if I give some idea that can be implemented, the members of the Kuyakusho of the city hall, they will implement. I find out that they are open. Of course, the procedures are little hard because you really need to go through the system, but there is a lot of changes in this city. Sumida has a lot of history from Edo period, and it's really, really very interesting. And it was not discovered, but during these 10 years, really Sumida have a lot of changes. For example, we have this sky tree that people feel is very important, and they are very concerned about the cultural exchange, about foreigners. Also, the Hokusai Museum. Hokusai Museum also have a lot of to do with this new mentality of
Mm.
Sumida people. And of course, the sumo also has open because it was like secret. No foreigners in sumo tournaments, but now they you can go, and sometimes you have some tour in the sumo houses or sumo stables, and it give me a lot of energy. It give me a lot of power. Do you know, if I am walking around the street and meet people and say, ah, I know, san, I read your report, Kambate, or give me ideas, which is very important to have
Right.
ideas from the people.
Mm.
And this is good because probably in the beginning nobody knew, not many people knew in my first election, only the probably the people who vote for me. And but gradually more people start knowing, and they feel very friendly with me, I
Mm.
can say,
Yeah.
because I know Japanese society is very formal, and probably approach to other counselor is not so easy because
Ah,
the formality, right?
right.
But they feel so confident with me.
So
Usually
even though
they
you are a Japanese citizen and an elected councillor, there's something which makes you stand apart, which makes you easy to
approach.
access, right? And to Noemi
Yeah, because
sensei ではなくねみた
yeah,
いな。
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They come and, for example, they hug me. They
Which I
like
would
to.
never go up to the, like I hug you when I see you. Well, not this year, obviously. I haven't hugged you for a long time, but yeah.
But probably they won't do with other politicians, right?
No, if I met the
Or they,
yeah. So it's a special
or
power that you
even,
have.
or even, do you know? Sometimes I feel some especially women of my age, we have so many different problems in
Mm,
certain age, and many people have a stress
yeah,
in Japan, and they have no one to talk openly,
right.
and some of them become mental illness.
Mm,
So I have some friends that they call me just to talk about that problems, and of course I keep in confidence, right? I don't tell anyone, but that trust is very, very nice to me, right? Because they feel I'm not only the counselor but their friend. That is, or if I'm walking in a park with my dog, and some children that they know my name and come running, Noemi, Noemi.
because you
And
also
that,
volunteer. You volunteer doing like English language for
oh yeah,
little kids as
I
well, right?
yes,
And that's
I
not part of
teach
your
English.
job. This is more part of your
No.
public service. Like you're always out. So where do you get your energy from, Noemi, to do all of these things?
To tell you the truth, I don't know. I think from, do you know, I sleep very late. And of course, I have to wake up early, but I don't want to wake up. I don't want. But once I start doing things, I forget. I'm tired.
So just start,
But
just do it, and
yeah,
then you get through your tiredness. You get the energy from the people, from the interaction.
I think I'm also a very active person. I'm not the type to be quiet or stay at home. Now I have to stay at home. Of course, I have to follow the COVID protocols. But I felt so bored, so I have to. I'm doing other things like a video concours for Bolivian children, and yeah, I keep myself busy with new ideas as well. But I think I'm active person.
Right. And what would you say then as advice to someone if they were thinking that, okay, maybe my ikigai, my reason for being here lies in public service, and thinking about that step? What would you say to them?
I think if they are foreigners living in Japan, uh, probably there is a lot of foreigners who will have a ikigai, as you said, as service, and they have to love to serve. There is it's not really something that uh, it's not obligation. It has to come from you, right? And then you will find a path how to be good. You can join volunteer jobs, or even yourself. You can, I don't know, for example, going to Sumida Park and doing some activity that you like. Now there is opportunity in Sumida Park, but also in other places, right? And I think uh, in the world there is a lot of necessity, a lot of necessity. And if you are good at something, it's good to realize what is your strength in life, and follow that path, right? And if somebody wants to be a politician, two important things: become Japanese first, and learn Japanese.
That's maybe advice for many things to be successful in Japan.
Yeah.
If they don't want to be, if they just want to be a politician in their home country, or if it's a Japanese person listening to this, like what else about to be a politician? What else do you need?
Well, I think really go to the go to the people. I think that is very important. Listen to the people, because in the assembly or in the meetings, you will talk about uh, how to make policies better for people, right? But how do you know how is better for people if you don't listen direct to them? So listen direct to them is very important, because in Japan, probably most of the people has same ideas, same um, similar way of thinking, similar desires. But in other countries, probably you will find people from many backgrounds, many differences in their education. It won't be like in Japan. So it's very important to go and talk to the people, and really try to be involved in what they want, what they need, because politicians are the people probably who can decide the destiny of the countries, the destiny of the people. If some countries good is because the politicians are good. If it's some countries bad is because the politicians are bad. I'm completely sure now about that.
And
So
there's the
politicians should,
expression, isn't there? We get the leaders that we deserve. So
yeah,
if you have the voice to vote and to speak, you should use your vote. And if you want to change things, then you should run for office as well
yes. If you
and
want
change
to
it from the
change, you
inside.
should, you should run for the office. Yeah.
And I think it's a really inspiring story that you shared. Of course, there was you did that discussion about what do I gain, what do I give up. I'm sure that must have been like a difficult decision, and many conversations happened around that timing. But then once you do that and commit to it, then like taking the next step, and three elections. What's happening next for you, Noemi? What do you see? Let's say in the future you're not a counselor anymore. What might your next iteration, your next version of your Ikigai look like?
So I will go to be a president in Bolivia.
Oh, you heard it here
It's joke.
first. She take back that citizenship and president of Bolivia.
No, no, it's joke. Anyway, I probably will continue to having my MPO
Right?
and serving. But in this time in Japan, for example, in my I really feel I can go longer in this job, as long as the people vote for me. But if they don't vote for me, I really would like to improve my MPO, and probably will be much better, because this work give me a lot of connections, a lot of contact, and also give me clear ideas of the people and community necessities.
Mm,
Probably I will keep with my MPO.
right. And people can reach out to you on social media. They can contact you on Twitter and all of those things if they want to know more,
Yes.
or if they decide, if it's a non-Japanese person living in Japan, decide, or even Japanese person wanting to run for office, maybe they can learn more about your story and what it's like to be a local councillor. So before we close, Noemi, do you have any final words of wisdom or things you would like to share with the listeners of Ikigai with Jennifer Shinkai?
Oh, yes. I think, do you know, this world is made by people, and all the things the people made has born in the heart or in the mind of one people, right? So the idea that the human beings have is very important, but one people can make big change. So if you have one idea, follow your idea with passion, with love. It can be true someday, eventually, if you know how to manage and outreach your idea or your goals.
I love that. So when you have the idea, then follow it with love and passion, and you'll find a way to make it come true.
Yes.
What a wonderful message.
You put in the best way.
That's what you said. I just said what you said. I just matome. So thank you so much, Noemi, for sharing your time and your journey and being an amazing role model for foreigners, for women, and for people who said, like, this can't be done. I think you give a great way that even something which looks like completely impossible, this Bolivian girl becoming a Sumida councillor, you can't believe the way that people's lives turn out. So I really encourage all the listeners and the viewers to find out more about the Noemi Inoue and follow her journey. And if you are able to vote in Sumida Koen, check out what her manifesto is and see if you would like to support her. You can support other politicians as well, of course. So thank you so much, Noemi. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.